My name's Alistair O'Neill. I'm Professor of Fashion at Central St Martin's. I'm here today at the Alexander McQueen Archive in London. It's my great honour to be able to show you some of the incredible things that are housed here. If we want to talk about house codes, perhaps the most important of all for McQueen is tailoring. And what I'd like to do is unpack that code in three ways: tailoring skill, playing up to tradition, and deconstructing tailoring. So it's about history and craftsmanship, firstly. It's also about irreverence and anarchy, secondly. But it's also very much about precision. And it's these three pillars that built the foundations for the House of Alexander McQueen. I've selected the collection Dante from Autumn/Winter 1996. It was inspired by the themes of religion and war, and the direct reference to the title of the collection was Dante Alighieri's 14th century poem, The Divine Comedy, which recounted the poet's journey through hell, purgatory and paradise. And the collection was a really radical mashup of ecclesiastical and military dress styles, and it was a very provocative and in-your-face collection, particularly in terms of how it was staged and how the models moved. This tailored dress was the first look that appeared in the collection, and is actually based on an ecclesiastical garment style known as a cassock. Now, the chevron is one of the oldest geometric shapes in heraldry, but what's interesting in the placement of these panels on this cassock style dress is that when worn it actually reveals the nipples, giving a slightly different reading to the person wearing it. So one hidden detail of this cassock style dress that's really interesting is the lining. You can see that it follows the traditional construction of a cassock at the back. The lining is not in keeping with the aesthetic of the dress as a whole. It's actually got this strange Hawaiian floral print on its surface. And the reason why it has this is this was the cheapest silk lining that Lee McQueen and his team could source at the time from Brick Lane Market. And I love the necessity of that, the fact that this is completely at odds with what the garment is actually trying to articulate, but needs must. Now, in the show itself, it wasn't just the dress, it was accessorized as a total look. It gives you an idea of the radical nature and to the reference to Victorian jewellery. So this is based on an 18th century heeled, buckled shoe design, but what's important about it is it has this really, really tiny feature that may well not have registered on the catwalk. It's a small, pale love heart, which is actually a reference to the beauty patches that men and women wore in the 18th century. The kind of character that's established by Look 1 in Dante is a strange combination of a kind of errant priestess meets a kind of vigilante highway woman. And it's that really demonstrates what Lee McQueen learned from working as a theatrical costumier and really learning how to play up to tradition. So to all intents and purposes, this is a little black jacket, but it's not just a simple little black jacket. It's got a lot going on, which I'd like to unpack for you. This garment is at the more commercial end of the spectrum, but what it does is it really shows us Alexander McQueen's emerging instincts for designing covetable and wearable pieces. It gives the look of military twill, which is a classic military fabric, but it has a lightness and a wearability to it. When designing this, Lee McQueen was looking at very early forms of uniform for sailors developed in the Napoleonic era in France. Form-fitting navy jackets without a tail, which were double-breasted and had a V shape of gilt buttons on the front. But as well as that reference, he was also looking at fashionable form-fitting tailoring for men from the 1880s. So this single diagonal row of buttoning that we see in this little black jacket, we also see in early fencing uniforms from the 1880s. The reason I want to show you the inside is that there's a cutout on the top right shoulder, a jet opening. And the function of this is that when the left lapel is brought over, it can be placed through the jet opening so that when it's fastened and buttoned, you get 2 points either side of the neck, which appear like thorns or horns, which show that the wearer means business. Okay, so this is the back of the little black jacket, and we notice firstly the excessive buttoning on the sleeve. The construction of the back of this jacket comprises 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panel pieces. Now this is to maximise the possibility for shaping, and this allows for these 2 hooded structures which appear to encase the shoulder blades. What they're also reminiscent of is a storm flap, a panel that you usually see on the back of a raincoat or a trench coat, which means that when it rains, the water falls onto that panel and not onto the main body of the jacket underneath. And in the Spring-Summer 2025 collection, we can see the ongoing influence of Dante in the razor-sharp suiting, where the lapels formed around the neck and we can see the peaks. And for Autumn-Winter 25-26, we can also see it in the military styles and in the exaggeration of the military twill fabric, which creates a really exciting texture and silhouette. So it's really important to stress that the archive is a living resource. It's constantly being used as inspiration on a visual, technical and conceptual level by Sean McGurr and his team in the design studio in order to produce fashion design anew, but also to be mindful of the significant fashion history that the brand has already established.